Welcome to the quietest ones in the room with your host Trey. I gotta say it. Just the fact that you've clicked onto this video and you are listening to the sound of my voice, you by far are the most intelligent people on the face of the planet. So once again, thank you for joining me. So I want to do a part 2 to the previous video I did yesterday, talking about my experience in business, and it comes from my failures and my successes that I've had. And as I mentioned in the previous video, I have started multiple six-figure businesses over a span of time. And currently I have a couple businesses. And I think this is important to talk about because obviously it's a part of finances and economics, but also it's an opportunity to provide some insight to someone who may be looking to start a business, currently has a business, and I think it's just valuable. Some things that I wish I would have known early on before I started a business. And now that I even say that, sometimes you learn just through the process of going through it yourself. Even if I'd heard certain things when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have taken them in like I should have. But anyway, hopefully you're not like how I was when I was much younger. So one of the things that I want to talk about in this video, and it came to me before I hit the record button, is the reality that sometimes when you start a business, success could never be achieved if you don't start. So in not starting a business, that is the first point of failure. The road to not being able to succeed because you didn't start the business. And for whatever reason, so many people have ideas about something and they either procrastinate, which has never been one of my problems, or they take advice from someone who says it's too difficult, and that hinders them. And they just have defeat all in their mind about why the business wouldn't work. And so I understand that can transpire, especially in the early stages of a business. But what I want to talk about in particular is how, for me, even though I'm the type of person that if I have a thought and I want to start a business, I just start, I take action. And the times that have led to failures, or really just the option of not being able to succeed, is when I just got burnt out early on in the process of starting a business. So I've had to learn over time what ideas to really entertain and what ideas you have. And they're just good thought processes, thought experiments to go through, but you may not actually start the business. Maybe you share it with a friend or family member to spark their interest to do the business themselves. And so that's one piece of it. A big piece that I found, which leads to failure in business, is giving up too soon. My first business, which even to this date was the most valuable company I'd ever started, I gave up on it too soon. I was a part of the social media craze after Facebook came out, and I started a social media platform, raised money, had a team, and after about 3.5 years, going into 4 years, I decided that the business wasn't viable. And it was simply because during the process of me building the business, I couldn't find a way to generate revenue at the time. And so the mistake I made was, even though I had invested what some people would consider a decent amount of time for a business, I didn't give it long enough. I should have gone minimum 5 years with this business. Because after I gave up the business, dissolved it, I learned so many things in hindsight that I could have applied to the business. I'd started new relationships, and the whole landscape has shifted. So just to kind of give you a hard example of it, when I started my platform, it was a video social network, and I would have conversation after conversations with people about, this was in 2011. I would have conversations with people about, hey, I started this platform. Can you post video content on it? And I had to chase people down to be involved on the platform in that capacity. But lo and behold, we have things like TikTok now, and people do lives streaming, and people comfortably post video on the internet. But at the time, it was almost like I was speaking a different language. And if I had just maintained my platform, continue to build the brand, that business would have been exceptional now. So I learned from that. I learned that you don't give up too soon. And sometimes it comes from, now that I've done other businesses over time, what it really comes from, I think what happened to me was, I didn't understand that in business you have your ups and your downs. It's variable. You're going to have years where you crush it. You're going to have years where you don't perform as well as the previous year. But over a span of time, you build consistency through that. And so I just wasn't patient enough with that business. But after that, with the other businesses that I've had, I did not give up quick. I kept my head down. I stayed focused, and in particular, got through a pandemic when so many businesses that were around at the time no longer exist. There are businesses that are gone now that didn't do anything wrong. They were just a part of a situation they couldn't control. And that happens in business. But what I want to emphasize is the reality that, yes, giving up too soon can crush your dream. And for many people, it happens for different reasons. But I hope if you're listening to this, this is the one video that you've heard telling you, don't give up. Don't give up. If you're making any amount of money from a business that you've created, and what I mean by this is it's profitable in any way, you just keep going. Even if it's not profitable, but it requires maybe a shift socially or a shift with, in particular, customer behavior, you keep going until something changes. You find ways to leverage what you've started and what you've accomplished to that point. And so that is something that, as an entrepreneur, you can have regrets for giving up too soon. So don't do it. Don't let your doubt creep in. Don't let the naysayers around you and their thoughts creep in, telling you maybe you should try something new, maybe you should try this or that. That's what I found out is so interesting about business. You could invest your time into it, do your research, And people will talk to you as if they know better than you do regarding what you do. And it happens so often. So ignore them and focus on your vision and building your team and your customers. Take your time doing that. Be purposeful in doing that. So anyhow, that's all for now. I'm going to share more and more. I want to make this, I'll probably do 10 to 15 videos on just my ideas of things that I want to share with you regarding what I've been through in business and I know is valuable. So I'll definitely share more. But in the meantime, please share your thoughts in the comment section. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. And as I always say, ladies and gentlemen, until next time.